If you have content platforms that continually update, such as a blog or a podcast, you can use the RSS trigger. And this is an application within Zapier. So for example, we can choose the app event at the trigger portal by clicking RSS. We're going to choose a trigger event. And we can choose the trigger event to be that there's going to be a new item in the feed or new items in multiple feeds. Now for the sake of simplicity, we're going to choose one new item in a feed. We're then going to click Continue. What we then need is going to be the feed URL. We can update this feed URL with a podcast URL or a blog URL. So for the sake of simplicity, we are going to use a blog URL. Now in this case, there is no username required to access the feed. And you'll notice here that there's only one required field for this particular application to work, and that's going to be the feed URL. Once you get to this stage, what you're going to need to do is to click the Refresh Fields URL. You're then going to need to click Refresh Fields. That will give you the Continue button, and you'll then click Continue. You're going to need to test your trigger. This test will allow you to know that your connection is valid. You can then click Continue. And what you're now saying is that whenever there is a new item in your blog, you can then set off some kind of chain reaction within Zapier. So for example, we can use something like GoToWebinar, and we can create a new webinar whenever there is a new post on our site. Now the required information are the title, the start time, and the end time, and the webinar type. You're then going to have a start time and end time. You're then going to choose the webinar type. You're then going to click Continue. You are then going to test your connection. And what we can now do is we can check GoToWebinar to see that our test webinar has been set up. And our new webinar is available inside of GoToWebinar just as we set it up. Now before closing out this video, it's important to note that the formatting for the start time and the end time had to be changed in order to make the Zap actually work. And there is a formatting chart available here in this area. You do have to click it in order to access it so that you can make sure that your time is going to be correctly stated. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.